Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. So I've always been fascinated by snow levels in video games. I always associate the PS1 with snow, which probably has something to do with the fact I got it around the time I actually first saw snow in the real world. I'd played snowy themed levels in games before, like the infamous Ski Free where a Yeti comes out and eats you, but it wasn't until I played the PS1 that I felt games really started to actually show off what snow actually felt like to be in. With that being said, here are my top 7 snow levels in PS1 games in no particular order. The first entry on this list is Bomberman World, the 1998 classic where you play as a little man with bombs, appropriately named Bomberman. The main story of this game has you visiting various planets, destroying numerous Bomberman enemies. It's not exactly deep, it's just a game on an isometric board where you plant bombs to destroy enemies and environments. Believe me, in 1998 it was the coolest thing ever. The main story isn't where the true fun of Bomberman World lies though. The real thing to play is Battle Mode, which is a 1 to 4 player mode where you can blow each other up to your heart's content. My sister and I used to play hours of this and laugh at the various silly Bomberman outfits like Monk Bomberman, Fairy Bomberman, and Ninja Bomberman to name a few. By far the most memorable stage was Slippy Valley. This ice level featured snowmen you could blow up and a floating platform which you could use the pink transporter in the bottom left hand corner to access. After a set amount of time, various blocks of ice would rain from the sky, letting you know that your time was about to run out. The last part of the stage to be covered was the floating platform, so it was always a race between me and my sister to see which of us could get up there the quickest. This didn't guarantee a win though, as both of us could stay on the platform, so the best thing to do was to get the greatest item in competitive video game history, the blue hand. With this item we could pick up drop bombs and throw them down on the unsuspecting players below, or more importantly could pick up the other players. This stage used to be a race between me and my sister to see who could get the hand and get up onto the platform quickest. It was usually me, and I would often use this power to throw my sister to her death. Sorry sis.
Thank you for releasing me.
The next entry on this list is Spyro the Dragon. Of course Spyro the Dragon features on the snow levels list. Why would there be a game about a fire-breathing dragon without at least one ice cave to explore? The level in question is appropriately named the Ice Cavern, and it's the first level in the game that's not a town or a big outside open area. Here you really feel like little Spyro travelling through an ice cave, freeing dragons and collecting treasure on your way to confront Nasty Nork. Back in 1998 when this came out, it was the biggest indoor 3D area I'd seen. The cave feels like it goes on for miles and features a really sneaky puzzle where you have to charge at these lampposts and get the treasure to fall down. The level doesn't just have an ice aesthetic, it actually has enemies in big metal spandex outfits which are immune to Spyro's flame. The dragon just before this area tells you that this enemy has slippery feet, which hints to you that a well-placed charge could knock him off into the abyss below. It was ice knowing you, Metal Nork man. The next entry on this list is the Blue Mountains from the original Rayman from 1995. Now this game is notorious for its high difficulty, but is also extremely memorable for its aesthetic design. Out of all the sections of this game, the Blue Mountains feels like the part that had the most time and effort put into it. You start off at the bottom of the mountains and progress through the 3 stages in the area. As you progress through, you'll begin to notice subtle indications that things are getting colder, such as the Arctic wind sounding background music and the fact that there are torches lit, suggesting that the enemies in the area are trying to keep themselves warm. As you get even higher, you start to notice little patches of snow, until eventually on the final part of the world it actually starts to snow and you really begin to feel like you're moving through a blizzard. The platforms here feature ice physics, including this puzzle here which has these fire rocks landing on tiny slippery platforms that you have to figure out how to get past. As you progress through the rest of the stage, you begin to see parts of the background covered with snow, indicating you've reached the top of the mountain. Even though Rayman 1 does a lot of things wrong, this section of the game stands out as being both aesthetically and mechanically well designed and really makes you feel like you've climbed a mountain. The next entry is from Croc Legend of the Gobos, a notoriously difficult platforming game from 1997 where you control a crocodile with no eyelids and a backpack on his quest to free cute little creatures called Gobos and defeat the evil Baron Dante. As Croc, you travel through various themed islands on your way to Baron Dante's castle, and funnily enough, it's the ice-themed island which features in this entry. Most of the levels before this level I'm going to talk about contain cutesy music which goes along with the vibe of the game, and despite the floaty controls, it just all feels so jolly and happy. The level I'm going to talk about is Demon Itzy's Ice Palace, and it's the boss level of the ice-themed world. At the beginning of this level, you see Baron Dante turning these weird sheep bug looking things into an ice monster as a hint for the fight that's about to come. You are then placed at the beginning of a dark path, and the music sounds a lot less cutesy all of a sudden. I remember this sudden tone shift in the game being quite startling when I first played it, and the combination of this music, the darkness up ahead, and the little gremlins which come out of the shadows really add to the tension before the boss you know you're about to fight. When I eventually reached the boss arena, I was awestruck by the at the time great ice graphics and the snowy cabin in the mountains vibe the area gave off. The music also has a serious tone, which made me feel like I had to put these poor possessed sheep bugs out of their misery. The fight is also really cool. Ha ha. As you have to wait for the monster to attack and then whip him with your tail, only to have him split into two monsters and then into two more when you hit him again. Probably the most memorable boss in the game. Say what you like about Croc, but the way it built up a boss confrontation was excellent back in 1997, and this is still my favourite part of the game. So next is the Great Glacier in Final Fantasy VII. You come across the Great Glacier about 60% of the way through the game, and the snowy setting is completely different than the parts of the game you've experienced so far. I first played this part years after it came out, and after I'd already beaten the two other PS1 classic Final Fantasy games 8 and 9, but the sheer scope of the Great Glacier still blew my mind. It felt like this area could have had its own game, it was that big, almost like Final Fantasy VII or something cool like that. In the Great Glacier you start at the top of a mountain, and you need to get to the other side of it using a snowboard. A screen grab of this part featured on the back of the European version of the box for this game, and was likely cashing in on the popularity of Cool Borders, which released earlier the same year. You get a rubbish map to help you through the Great Glacier, which doesn't help in the slightest. The only way to really navigate this was to use an official strategy guide with pictures, because go left at the snowy bit was hardly helpful advice to get from your friend at school. Eventually, if you spend enough time walking around the glacier, Cloud passes out and you can climb up to the top of the screen in the area you wake up on to continue with the main game, or go south to explore even more of the glacier in a completely different orientation than you did before. The sheer scale this area projects, especially for a game from 1997, set the standard for scale in RPGs and really makes me want to have a go at real life snowboarding again, which I'd do if I wasn't so prone to falling over. Metal Gear Solid has you crawling through a snowfield lined with claymores, but the part that's burned into my mind from childhood is right after the intro when the game's protagonist, Solid Snake, gets to the top of a lift and enters this snowy area looking out over a nuclear facility in Shadow Moses. At the beginning of the game you can see how cold things are as Snake's icy breath appears in front of him, which, believe me, was earth-shatteringly realistic in 1998. This was also the first time I'd seen a character leave footprints in the snow, and it blew my mind that the guards, dressed in their camo snow outfits, could notice these very same footprints.
Huh? Whose footprints are these?
The rest of the game features sections of indoor facility, but every time you go outside you're welcomed by the chilly Alaskan breeze of Shadow Moses. Even though the game features snow throughout, it's this first section where you learn the game's main controls that sticks out in my mind as being the coolest in the game, and it's a real indication of the excitement that's to come with the rest of the story.
Colonel, do you want to build a snowman? It doesn't have to be a snowman. Okay, bye.
So, the final entry is all the snow bits in Crash 2. Crash's second outing is the only game in the original Crash trilogy to feature snow levels, and it throws a heap of them at you here. There are standard stages where you run towards the screen and side-scroll collecting crates, on-rails levels where you ride a polar bear towards the screen, levels where you run from a giant snowball Indiana Jones style, levels where you run away from a giant polar bear, on a polar bear. The second warp room in this game is the snow-themed one. In this warp room you can jump on this little polar bear's head about 10 times, giving you a whole bunch of lives, which was one of the secrets that 8-year-old me told my class back in 1999. I thought I was so cool that week. The design of these levels is great, and you can see Crash's icy breath and shivering during his idle animations. Aesthetically, these levels tick all the boxes, and of course feature some pretty intense ice physics. The final ice stage is called Cold Hard Crash, and is infamous for having a secret crate hidden in the bonus stage that no one, and I mean no one, would have got on their first try. In order to get the box gem in this level, you need to smash all the crates before this death platform without dying once, ride the platform up through this gauntlet of evil hedgehogs, chomping blocks and exploding nitro crates, and then hit this switch, only to have to travel back to the beginning of the path. After this, you need to carry on with the level as normal, taking extra care, because if you die before the next checkpoint, you'll have to go all the way back to the beginning of the gauntlet with none of the boxes staying smashed. It's brutal, and after all of this, you have to make it to the end after smashing the rest of the boxes in the level. The feeling you get when you open the doors to the end of the level, seeing 154 out of 155 boxes smashed, is horrendous, isn't it, Caddy?
Cold hard crash can cold hard fuck itself. Cold and hard.
But in the end, if you make sure to smash the hidden box in the bonus room, and this box behind the nitro crates, and this lonely TNT here, you'll be rewarded with the gem. A tough level, but boy does it feel worth it when you complete it. And yes, I deliberately missed the secret box when capturing footage for this level, then beat it again just for this video. Feel sorry for me. So there you have it, my top PS1 snow levels. Playing through these reminded me just how winterful the PS1 was, and I'm really glad you watched my snow and tell of these classic levels. Thanks for watching, and let me know what your favourite snow levels are in the comments below. See you later.